Okay, so it's recording. All right, so we're going to talk about early intervention and prevention and the different education placements. So I'll start with the early intervention or prevention in the United States. So kids who are under the age of 3 can be qualified if they follow all the requirements to get some early interventions before they start school. And if they do qualify for it, their family gets a plan, and it's called the Individualized Family Service Plan. And through that, they can get physical therapy, occupational therapy, cognitive, physical skills, communication skills, social, emotional, pretty much whatever the child falls under.
Yep.
There are 2 requirements though. You have to be either, so the child has to be developmentally delayed, so like behind on milestones, or the child has to have like a health condition, so maybe like a birth defect, or they had surgery, or like if you have ADHD or something, that won't fall under the requirements.
Yeah.
It has to be like you're developmentally behind almost. So this year, actually, I just received a student on my caseload who just turned 3 in December. So for the fall months, he had a individualized family service plan, so he was able to get services before. And I think that, he had brain surgery, so he's a complex kid, but I really see that he is, on paper, he seems a lot more complicated when we started knowing about him. And then when he came in, he's able to do a lot more than what it seemed like he was able to do.
Yeah.
So for that, I kind of was really grateful for the early intervention, because he came into school already kind of knowing what to do, and just learning the new classroom, and with all of his supports, we were able to have a smooth transition, which I think is a really big goal for these students who come in with either health conditions or developmentally delayed. But I guess what's cool about it is that you can only do this until you're 3 years old. And then once you're 3, you can enroll in school for preschool, and then it becomes an IEP, so an individualized education plan that is more suitable for the classroom and the school and what he needs at that moment, because obviously he's in a different environment, and it's not going to be the same as what the individualized family service plan was. But this was the first student that I've worked with that had early intervention, and I definitely see it being really beneficial to him. Do you have any questions about?
No, you're clear. Yeah. While talking, I just, because I have the experience with some students, and basically sometimes when you read in paper, you just it's a big work that you think you are going to be, and sometimes it's shocking because no, you're not doing any hard work, because this student, as with the help of the family, he's already know what he will be doing. So it's really helpful. Or sometimes the other way around. You see nothing on the paper and you think, okay, well, I mean, he can do this. He's independent. He's this and this and this. But when you just get to know the kid, then you change to,
So I definitely do believe that the earlier you seek help, the better for the child. I also do think that being 3 years old and having all these services, if you are developmentally delayed, or if you had surgery, or you have some complex health conditions, I'm all for it. But sometimes I think that the child, every child's different, everyone grows up differently. I know I was walking a lot later than my siblings were, and my family, were cautious about it, but weren't oh, we need to get all these services for her. I can see both sides, how it could be beneficial to have early intervention, but then sometimes I'm let the brains develop, let the kids, be who they are. If they want to walk, if they want to crawl or do certain things later, sometimes that happens, and maybe they don't need all these services or all these things. So I see double side. Do you guys have I know
yes, as I do agree, somehow I agree with you, some sort of delay things, let's say walking or crawling or teething, for me, I don't see it as a big issue, as you said, just let the brain just it will come. But some others, they need early intervention, if the kid is not
Right.
like responding to you, like, if you're calling that kid and then he's not responding, whoa, hello, it's a hint. Or if they, cannot hold properly, then that's the motor skills also. I would go for those, for the earlier ones. But some areas that, yes, I agree that, you have to wait, just give it time, and then it will, yeah.
Excuse me. And I also think that, like, the kids do have to get evaluated to have like an early intervention plan. So I'm sure, just because I'm not involved in that process, because this is my first time dealing with a student who has gone through that, I'm sure, they probably tell the parents like, yeah, it's delayed, or yeah, it's a little behind, but maybe you don't have anything to worry about. But, like the things that you said, like not responding or not like looking at you in the eye, or, not able to grasp things. Obviously, I think like the early intervention definitely works.
Yep. Yeah.
Do you want to add anything that maybe you guys do in Tunisia about
like as I mentioned, like in Tunisia, like public schools, we don't have it. It's a total new world for us. Like, we don't even have teachers like they are trained for this. And it's really sad, because all those special need kids, they are dumped in one big room, and then like if they know that they have like supervision coming, let's say, like, I don't know, the mayor is coming to visit that place, then people will, just, the nice picture, and they will probably do some activities. But otherwise, I had a friend who had her child, she came from the States, and she's Tunisian, she used to live in the States, she came back here, and she had a special, like, her daughter cannot see and cannot walk, and then they took her to this place thinking that there's gonna be like, some activities and stuff. But what happened, like, she was in the chair from 9 in the morning till 11 when the dad went to pick her up. And, she peed on herself, and they didn't even notice that. It's really sad. So in Tunisia, it's horrible. I know, it's really horrible. So that's, as I said, like, it's one
parents, like,
they were so upset, and then they went back to the States. So they took her to the door and they went back to the States. So, because here it's nothing at all, I promise, like poor, and not even poor, nothing at all. Some parents will hide their kids. They don't want them to be confronting other kids, normal kids. If they come to, like the American school is a little bit different, but the thing that we don't have like, special teachers or trained teachers, they are trying to sort of, how do I say it, like, just get rid of the special education program, and they are thinking to just, have the kids out of the school. So that's why I'm trying to peel more tools and information, so I can say, yes, I'm here, I can help. I know I'm one person, but what, with this middle school teachers, we can do things together. So yeah, we do have like, a therapist who comes here for some kids, and the parents are paying for it. Not the school, parents are paying for it. And what else? But it's not enough. Like she comes like twice a week, and she's divided between 4 or 5 kids.
So probably pulled in so many directions. If you guys don't have interventions like that,
we don't.
It's crazy because we have a bunch of like acts in the United States. So like the kids are under like kids with disabilities. We refer to it's called the Individuals with Disability Education Act. And like literally everything under that is like special needs kids have the right to an education. They talk about the different placements that they should be in. They talk about like all their rights that you have with a student with disabilities, and like the stuff that you're saying is like going against everything. And I know we're in different places, but that is just like crazy to me.
So some of, let's say, the teachers are trying to create like, when it comes to differentiation, like like I personally, like I work as a TA, but I have to, from like in my head, I have to make it either EL, like for me as EL kids also, like they are one of the special need kids because they don't have enough English, and how am I going to have those kids? Another case, like he's autistic, so how am I going to make the plan for Alexander, let's say, so he is still, they pay a fortune, they pay a lot of money, so he's not coming here to just, we are not babysitting him, he needs learn, and then he has the right to learn. So what am I going to do to differentiate the program so to serve everybody? And so, although I am not like, because I'm not the teacher, but the teacher that I work with, she's amazing. Like sometimes she just said, okay, what's the plan? So go ahead and share it. And then I'm trying, as I said, like I'm trying to teach myself with reading, going to the middle school teacher, just navigating to internet and those resources that can help me help those needy.
Yeah. I have a question for you. What kind of interventions do you guys use inside the classroom? You said that you like to look things up on the internet, or
so like it depends on the child's disability. Like we have like sort of escalating like corner, like for the kid to just calm down, and I don't use it as a timeout or negative way so he doesn't freak out, but I just say, okay, John Burke, okay, let's go sit here because I think you need to calm down. I'm trying to just smile and showing him, and he's like, okay. And so he knows, like now sometimes if he's not feeling very well and distracting, he just pull himself and he goes there. Sometimes I just I don't give him a lot of like the same amount of work, but I just break it. We're doing one thing at a time. Okay, if he does one thing for me and he does it perfectly, I just praise him and say, well done, big smile, and he's like, oh, me Sonia love, and he doesn't have the English, he's Turkish, like so it's kid with no English, he has this disability, it's a lot. So,
how many students are in the classroom?
This year we have 21 students in the classroom.
Wow.
I know.
You have like no direction for like intervention at all, period. No early intervention, no direction for intervention for the kids in your class. I can't even imagine how stressful and hard that could be.
It is. And we have like, one with the hearing problem, impairment hearing, the other one with motor skills, like he's really slow and, and this autism guy. And so like, different, like seriously, like, it's a combination, and most of them are EAL, like, they come from Morocco, Syria.
So on top of that, they don't speak English. So wow, power to you and your teacher that you work with. You guys are like the occupational therapist, the audiologist, the vision. You guys get like all the special ed.
Yes. And at the end of the day, we just give ourselves, big hugs, like, yes, we did it.
You got through today.
So
wow, that's like
the patient and the love of the kids. Love of the kids and the patient, that's the key, I think, for us to the teacher that I work with, she's amazing, and she used to be my mentor for my last I swear, like, she makes, and even something is really, you can see it's really stressful, the situation, but we just look at each other and we smile, and we're
gonna get through it.
So
what is like your principal like? Does he or she have any insight on like early intervention or?
Well, she is new to the school, like it's her first year, and like for her everything is new. She's not settled perfectly, so she cannot take any. But the first thing that when she knew what we have those cases in the school, they were thinking to just abandon the idea of having a special education section, because it's another piece of work or another piece of thing on her plate. So I'm hoping, I'm praying, like they don't abandon the program, and they don't just get rid of it, because it's really will be really shocking for the parents that they have their kids here.
That's crazy.
So I don't know, like I don't and like she's new, as I said, like a couple of months now. I don't even know her as a like perfectly.
Right. That's crazy.
I can judge.
Like heard anything that like where you live, are they going to like incorporate it, like implement any interventions? Do you foresee?
Well, I mean, that's why I said, like, I'm trying to like, to learn, so I can do something out of here. So for these people that, they don't have a place where to go, my dream is to make just, school for these people, and just show that yes, we are different, everybody's different. And I really like, did you see that movie of Forrest? And it's like, my mom used to say, life is like a box of chocolate. Exactly. I swear, I love that phrase, and it is. We are different, and we don't know what. So
Wow.
Yeah, it's really hard. Yeah, but I am happy and I'm excited because I look at it from the positive sort of perspective of view,
Right.
and I
You
think
will learn from all of us and
yes,
hopefully
yes,
incorporate
yeah,
that in your
yeah.
school. Do you know if like any other schools around you like have special like incorporate early intervention or
they
some kind of
they
intervention?
have a special education kids, like we have a special, but like a special curriculum, special program for those kids. No, no, it's like the kid, either the kid will get abandoned in a corner, timeout, principal's office, or sent home because he's having a bad day.
Wow.
So no, like, I mean, nothing. And because, and the teacher that's like, oh, he's naughty. He's not naughty. He's not naughty, I
Stop it.
promise. But he doesn't get what you are telling him. You are giving him
Yeah.
a lot of information. Slow it down, break it down, just
Wow.
use this and this and this. Like, you are giving him a lot of information, and guess what, he can't,
Yeah.
because he's
It's
different.
like overstimulating for him.
Yeah, overwhelmed. Just, give him one piece at a time, praise him for doing. If he's off, then that's it, he's shot. Just give him a few minutes to just, either go to the corner, draw something, or just, relax, lay down. Give
Yeah.
him time to just breathe and,
Right.
gather
Like,
himself again, and then he will do the next task. But you cannot say he's not naughty, and he's not doing it that on purpose. Like, some teachers will say, oh, he's doing the person, he's not a good boy. No, that's not, I mean,
wow.
because they didn't have it. We don't have this, that how do I say it, that in Tunisia it's really different, like, everything is different. Even schooling, like, now most of the people are going to private schools, although, like, and in private schools also they have a special education, but it's at least in the class there is, like, 15 to 20 kids. I mean, that your kid is learning. Like, in public schools, we have, let's say, in a classroom, we have like 40 to 45 kids.
Wow.
So it's a
Are you
total
at a
different.
public school?
Say that again.
Are you at like a public school?
We have public schools.
What kind of school
Um,
are you at?
I am like private. American
Okay.
school is
Oh,
private
gotcha.
school. Yeah, and people pay like fortune of money. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, if they are paying the school fortune of money, and then
Right.
you are
They should be receiving the, well, I guess that can go into like, so like, I guess the cost of early intervention, like depends on, I guess, like the families, like maybe they're, I'm not really sure how it really works, but on that website that, or those articles that I read, it like, the cost depends on the qualifications, but like some children can get services for free of charge or at a lower cost. And like I do know that like a lot of the services that my students get, like in our, like I work at like a public school and we have gen ed classrooms and then we have a few special ed classrooms, and all students there, like they receive their, if they get physical therapy, if they get occupational therapy, if they get speech, they get all that. Like that comes with, going to school. That's pretty much for free. But I guess like if you want like outside therapy, like outside of school hours, I think like the parents have to pay for that. But it's like kind of sad because like a lot of our parents at our school, like they come from like low income families, and it's like really hard for them to even like, educate themselves on what like their child needs. And like often they're relying on like the teachers, and I can't even imagine thinking about, my child having a disability or like getting this early intervention. Maybe they don't speak English. Like, it's really hard, I think, for them to, I guess that's like an issue that I see with like the parents and like the early intervention, even like the early years at like the elementary schools, that they don't really understand what's going on, or they don't have like the resources at home, or they're not
Yes.
educated, or like the finances. And I think that's like a really big issue with special ed.
Yeah.
I do know like in Washington DC, like there's a lot of resources, and I know you can go through like our social worker and like our psychologist to like really help with families who need that. And like we're really open to like sharing and explaining things to parents. But I know that's like, I feel like that's an issue in all areas, that like parents don't, maybe they don't understand, or they don't have like the education to provide for their special ed child.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, like in our school, it's I mean, because it's really expensive, the school, they pay a fortune of money. So we don't have the problem of parents, they pay, like, you know, they tell you, okay, they seek for like sort of help. So tell me what to do and I'll do it. So they don't have that problem of paying. But it's still, as I said, like, you know, if they are paying like a lot of fees, how about including every single, you know, treat them like, you know, fairly. If they are paying a lot of money, so how about this for free? But I mean, if they are, you know, specials, like, you know, or extra things, they will just, the parents will pay themselves.
Yeah. I also know that, like, you know, we have talked to like some parents, because like once the students are in school, they no longer can do like the individualized family service because the kids are older than 3 years old. So then they get the IEP, the individualized education plan. And like when we're explaining this to their, like, the parents, were like, you know, the earlier the detected, you know, the better. Hopefully, you know, the point of an IEP is to decrease, you know, where like the gen ed kids are at, so like where you're supposed to be in, like whatever grade you're in, and then the IEP is supposed to like help minimize that gap from where you are or where the student is to where they should be in the classroom with the curriculum. And a lot of parents that like we have talked to, like if their child's being like identified in like kindergarten through second grade, we're like, you know, there are like, if you ever run into this problem again, like hopefully not, but like, you know, there's early interventions, and like some parents just, they're not informed, they don't know about these things, which I think is hard. And I'm not sure like how like that really like comes about. Like, is that something that you like say to the pediatrician and the pediatrician like guides you? Like, I'm not sure how, you know, some parents don't understand or aren't what's the word, like they're not exposed to it, so they don't know. And sometimes like they're like, I wish I knew, I would have put my child in early intervention, but they weren't aware of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, like what I think, and I could be wrong, like, I mean, if you are with your child, how like could you not notice some, like, you know, even though the first child, you would have known, like, from your siblings, from, you know, neighbors, and you should, like, for me, it's obvious if the kid is facing some issues. I think it's obvious for parents, so that's why it's easier for the parent to follow up and just, you know, sort of at least give the school a heads up, like, so we can sort of help the kid. It's for the child's benefit,
for the child's needs. I do have a question for you. You said that your parent, or the parents at your school, they pay for their children to go there. So like, if one of their child is exhibiting special education or special like behaviors or like academic deficits, like, do they get like, I guess, upset, or like do they complain if like the child's not getting there? You're fine.
Can I have your charger, because my computer is dying? Can you please do me a favor? Okay, sorry, because my charge is like 3%, and I'm afraid that it's gonna cut.
Are you getting a charger?
I'm asking Ms. Sherihan to pass me a charger. No, it's not the same. It's not the same. Let me just go check. I'm not in my classroom.
Oh, that's okay. Take your time.
No, it's not the same. No. Okay, well, let's see how the 3% will let me.
Do you want to go get your charger?
Is that okay? Can I run?
No.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Take your time. Recording. Perfect. All right. So my question was that because you teach at like a private school, you said, and your parents pay, like they're paying all this money, if their child, you know, if they're seeing that their child is having trouble like learning academically, or they're exhibiting behaviors, like do your parents complain? Because I mean, I can't imagine if you guys don't have the resources and then these parents are paying, like, I'm sure they're unhappy if their child is
not receiving the same.
Do they?
Yeah, well, I mean, some parents, they just like those parents that become ready to hear. Like we have some parents. Sorry,
it's okay.
We have some parents like they are willing to know and to learn because they already share that information with us.
Oh,
like,
okay.
There is some challenges with my kid, or there's he's not ready or something, we know so this and this. So, or they do the test already.
Oh,
And
they do
those
like the
usually,
outside evaluation.
yes. Then
Okay.
usually it's like different categories. It's international schools. Usually we have like the European are so good at that. Canadian, like British, and like American. They are ready. If there is any problem, they will share it with you and they lay it on the table and they are honest with you. So, and they say, okay, this is what we do with so and so, like how are you going to help him, do you have it? And they ask questions and they like to hear feedback from the teachers. Some parents, they just ignore, not ignore, but they just try to avoid talking to you about their child.
Yeah.
So they don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I guess we have like a mix of, those parents who sometimes they give us a heads up if they are thinking their child is, but like a lot of times the referrals come from teachers.
Yeah.
But I guess I find it interesting because I know that like one time we didn't have like an occupational therapist at our school, and a lot of the parents that their child was receiving those services, they weren't getting them. So we had a lot of parents like complain and like get upset. And I mean, this is just, I teach at like a public school, so I mean they don't really pay anything for it. So I can't imagine, I guess, having parents paying for their child to go to school and like there's really no, like you said, there's not like a lot of resources or special education teachers to really like point out
like,
and target what they need.
The like with some parents, as I said, like it's really easy to sort of they will give you a heads up and then they will share with you, like let's say for example we have one of this year, I'm talking about this year because I worked with different cases, but as I said earlier, nobody teach me how to deal with them. I'm trying to figure it out myself. He's not doing what he's supposed to do. He's not listening. He's not following. So I try to create, although I'm a TA, but I always, and thank God, like, I've been working with really nice teachers that they listen.
Right.
They don't say, what do you know? They don't say that, because I have some teachers in the same school. If you talk about it and they say like, oh, you are a TA. How did you know that? It's like, it's not being a TA means that I'm dumb, I cannot understand, but I do, I feel for the kid and I know what's happening and I have these strategies. The teachers that I worked with, they are amazing. They just let me, when I say something, I said, how about we try this? They never says no. Like they always like, go for it. If you think, okay, let's try it, why not?
Yeah, I feel like that's what special education is. Like it's always like trial and error because every child's different, regardless if they have special needs or they have a disability or not. And like that's why like literally sometimes I'm like, I feel like I tried 5 different things for this child, like I don't know what else I can try. But I agree, it's a lot of trial and error. Like I feel like you're telling me that you don't have like a special education teacher, you don't have the resources at your school, but I feel like you and your teacher are doing like you guys
like
are
we just search it ourselves. We Google stuff, we ask the middle school teacher, we just, and with the experience, because I've been working with for 17 years, like and my mom used to be like the EL teacher, and I always like listen, like I love to go with, even though when I was like a student, I go to her classes and I see the way that she's dealing with the kids. So sort of I feel like I grown up in that sort of atmosphere. It made me feel like understand how does it work. So probably that's one of the advantages that I have. And as
I said, a lot of like ELL and ESL support teachers, and they kind of use the same like resources or like interventions that we use. They're a little bit different, obviously, if like the child's prohibiting like behavior and things, but like for the most part, like academics, like
academically,
a lot of our like interventions overlap, and like sometimes I will pull kids or I will support kids who really aren't on my caseload and they may not have a disability yet, or they just they just started school and they don't speak any English. Like I'm more than happy to also like support them if like the ESL teacher can't come in the classroom or something. So I definitely see how they can like intertwine and like how you can have practice bring it into the classroom.
I know, like I consider myself an EL person too, because like English is my second language. Like my mom is British, my dad is Tunisian, but and I grew up in like Arabic sort of speaking mixed with English, but Arabic was more because I went to public schools and it was like Tunisian school, like Arabic school. So for me, like, I was like, if it could come, like, at school for some, like he speaks, like, Arabic, I just, use my Arabic to help that kid feel comfortable. And it's like, guess what, I'm here, so don't you worry, don't panic, I
Yeah.
can help you. Or French, like, also, because I speak French, so it's like, like, same thing again, I'm here to help you, do not panic, you are able to reach the same level as them. And as we said, like, the kids are different and they are smart, they are not dumb, they are smart, they can pick up things, and they can just, if you just give them that confidence and you praise them and you just be positive around them and don't ignore them. So and you love the children. That's, I mean, if you've, or even small details, like, sometimes I just, just try to, fish for those little details that kid is interested in too. And then he looks at you, like, how do you know? Like,
Exactly.
and they smile, and then they're like, yes, he's coming, I'm putting more information and he's speaking more in English.
That's
So,
awesome. Good to use like the ways, like kind of how you said that English is your second language, like using interventions that work for you and trying them on the kids. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Should we talk about
gesture also? I like, sometimes, I don't speak Turkish, but I'm using gestures, like, like, and sometimes, you make the kid laugh. It's like, anything silly, isn't it? And then they like it when you admit, okay, oh, I'm sorry, I did that mistake. How do I say it? Or they want to feel comfortable. They will, if they love you, they will learn from you. And
exactly.
And they will take it. But if you just sort of, show them that you are, no, don't do that, or you're frustrated, or you're just, you're not happy with the kid, they just feel unsafe and they will probably freak out. So
no, that's a really good point that you made. Should we talk about the placement of students?
Sure, go ahead.
So in the United States, or I know in like where I am in Washington, D.C., we do like schools are required to provide services for all students, whether you're in special education or not. And they call it like in the least restrictive environment, so the LRE. And that's like the supports that the child needs to succeed in the gen ed classroom. So what supports does that child need to access the gen ed curriculum? And then the LRE is part of the Individuals with Disabilities Act I was telling you about, with like the early intervention. And like there's like two things that falls under that. So like a child needs to be with other students in the gen ed class, like that's obviously the top priority, and like the right that students and people with disabilities have. And then like there's always this, and then the second one is like specialized classrooms, separate schools, or even like removal from the general ed class should happen like only if the child needs it. So if it's like impeding the child's learning, or the attention issue, or the disability is so severe that like the supplementary aids and services that we're incorporating at the school, like we can't provide that. So that's like the only time the student should be removed. And it's actually like a really long process. There's a lot of kids in my school that like, I guess I will explain more when I go through like the types of restrictive environment. So the first one is like the types of the LRE. The least restrictive environment is like the general ed classroom. So that's like, all the students, like if the teacher might have to like differentiate or like add like supplemental supports, but pretty much everyone is in the classroom. And then the second one would be like partial, they call it mainstream, or like an inclusive classroom. And that's when the child's like spends part of the day in the gen ed classroom and then is like pulled out, so they'll get like individual or even like small group instruction, and sometimes like push in.
Yes, so that was my question. Like you branch it, like, for example, you have this, okay, so that's what
so like and then like they start and then they move, like, so you're in the gen ed setting, like everyone starts there, and then these are the steps that you follow based on what the child needs if they have a disability. So the gen ed class, the partial, mainstream, or the inclusion, and then after that is the specialized education class. And like in DC, they're called self-contained classrooms. So like the child spends the entire day in a special ed classroom with special ed teachers and special ed support teachers.
And do they have like this, do they follow the same curriculum, or?
So they don't, like the classroom I worked in, so DCPS, DC Public Schools is what I work for. My first 2 years, I was a paraprofessional, like a teacher's aide. And my second year, I worked in an autism classroom. It's actually called a CES class, stands for Communication and Education Supports. And it was, I think it's open to more than just kids with autism, but a lot of kids at our school they all were all on the spectrum. Um, and what was I going to say? Those classrooms, like they're said that it's a program with specialized instructions with similar needs. But I found it that like, because special ed, there's a big population of special education students, but there isn't like, we don't have like, there's not a lot of special education teachers like in the district that I work in. And the classrooms, they're kind of put in, like we have kids that, like the classroom I taught in, we had kids that were nonverbal who didn't like know how to use the bathroom, had a lot of behaviors. And then we had students who were very high functioning, very like, they were able to, talk, they were able to use the bathroom, they were able to actually do skills. So like our curriculum wasn't really, like we followed the standards that we needed to follow for the students, but like everything was like a low, medium, high, because like teaching something with a child who can't even sit in a chair, and then teaching the same thing to another child who is like, picks up quickly, they might exhibit behaviors of autism, but like if you didn't know that the child had autism, like you
wouldn't guess.
So I guess like I have concerns, or there are concerns that like, all these students are put into these classrooms, but like it's not really leveled correctly, because there's all different levels on the spectrum, and a lot of the students, it makes it really hard to like specialize that instruction when you have like a student who can't sit in a chair, a student who is constantly hitting, and then you have a student who is diagnosed with autism but is very high functioning, knows his like math facts, like can do more academics, where the like some of the goals or some of the things that we taught the kids were like how to sit in a chair, or how to like attend to an activity. So I feel like it's really hard to classify students and put them into one classroom that are all like defined as a disability, because it's like really hard to meet all of their needs, I thought.
Yes.
So
I mean, yeah, like it makes sense, because I mean, it's not fair if you are going to like, it's like I see what I mean. Like, you can go further with those that they can do stuff, and you can slow it down, and it's not fair to serve them at the same time, because they don't have the same pace.
Right.
So, yeah.
And then like within those classrooms, like a lot of the kids, like all the kids have the IEP. So they all have this like individual plan where like we create the goals on how like to, minimize that gap. And like, so-and-so could be working on like sitting, or like, the toileting routine, while the other students working on like double digit addition and subtraction. So I do find it's like hard, like with those classrooms that I know, like where I teach in Washington, D.C., like the public school system, there's not a lot of, I don't want to say like classrooms, but like it's hard to be like, this is a low functioning autism class, this is a high functioning autism class. They don't have the amount of teachers to split up and do that. They don't have the funding, they don't have the classroom, like the space to be like, oh, there's 3 autism classes, this is the high, medium, low. So like
and one teacher for that class.
One teacher and usually 2 aides, and there's up to 8 kids, which doesn't seem like a lot, but based on the students that we get at our school, like that have come in and been enrolled, like it's literally everyone across the spectrum. But like the school that I teach at, we have gen ed classrooms, preschool through 5th grade, and then we have 3 of the autism classes. So the one that I taught in 2 years ago, or was an aide, I didn't teach directly, but like I did a lot of kind of what it seems like what you do with your teacher, a lot of co-planning, and like would help out any way I could. So we have 3 of those classrooms. We have a preschool autism, a K through 2nd. So that's another thing, is like we don't have just like a kindergarten autism class. It's K through 2nd. So there are kids with kindergarten, 1st grade, and 2nd grade. And it's like, how can you, really specify and teach the needs of the students when there's 3 grades in there? Like kindergarten, 1st, and 2nd are totally different grades. You learn different things, you do different things in them. So it's like, you know, all these students that are all over the spectrum, high, medium,
Mhm.
and low functioning, they're put in a classroom with kids that are older and younger than them. So that's like
Even
another
though you plan for
experience.
three categories, still it's not going to work, because how are you going to teach kindergarten, and how are you going to teach the medium sort of, you know, level, and how are you going to do the advanced sort of, it still
Yeah,
is
so
not.
it's like really hard, and I feel like, you know, I really condemn those teachers who like are in those classrooms because they're dealing with like, you know, different grade levels, different like academic behavior levels of the students.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like crazy to me. Like, I'm really happy that we have, you know, classrooms and like the self-contained rooms for those students, because they definitely are beneficial. But like, you know, a child isn't gonna, you know, succeed if he or she's not getting the instruction or the things
Yeah,
that
meet his
his
needs.
disability.
Yep.
So we have the 2 autism classes, then we also have a 3rd through 5th autism class, and then we have an ILS class, which has like a lot of kids with ID, and they mostly work on like daily living skills and stuff. But even like that classroom too, like they have students in that room that are very quiet and don't exhibit any behaviors, and then have students that like exhibit a lot of behaviors, will throw chairs across the room, and it's like I feel so I wish that there was another like classroom for the students that have the higher like behaviors, because you know that interrupts everyone's
Yeah,
learning.
of course.
So I don't
Yeah.
really know like
Safe, and will cause the panic in the classroom, and because the kids already have. Yeah, understand. Um, yeah, go ahead, and then I will
so
share
I
mine.
mean I can't like I'm like happy, you know, that the students are getting what they need and they're in these like specialized classrooms. I also think that like a lot of like the gen ed students and the gen ed teachers have like stereotypes and like stigmas about like these students in these classrooms, because you know they don't know how to act in the hallway, but like it's not that they don't know how to act, it's that they can't help it and stuff.
Yeah.
So we do promote a lot of inclusion at my school, which like I'm part of like our inclusion committee, and I'm really like a big advocate for all of that. um, Last year, one of the students that I worked with in the self-contained autism class, he was really high functioning, and I would support him inside like the gen ed classroom. And then once I became a teacher, as like a school, we decided to transition him from the self-contained to the gen ed classroom, which was like really great, because I know like mom was happy, and you know he's really smart and was able to do things like, excuse me, he definitely has like, you know, his behaviors and things that like you like see when you work with like students with autism. But like he's doing really well right now, and like I'm really happy we were able to get him what
Out of,
he needs.
yeah,
Like he
yeah.
still gets like pull out and push in services from me. But I feel like this is such a better placement for him than being in the self-contained, because I felt like, you know, all the other students were so low functioning that it kind of like wasn't bringing him down, but like he almost was like performing at that low level, because there was nothing else in the classroom for him to like be like, I want to be better, like have potential.
Yeah.
So we ended up transitioning him into gen ed, which was like really awesome, and like I think that like promoted a lot of inclusion for the school.
Yeah.
So another thing that we do is like our self-contained programs, like they'll push into the gen ed classrooms for like special. So like for PE, instead of being like by themselves, like the 8 of them, they'll push into like the gen ed PE at the same time, which I think is like really good, because like, you know, socialization and being with your
Yeah.
peers. So
Yeah.
like I'm all
Yeah.
about that, but I do think that, you know, we could work a little bit better to, I guess, put the right kids in the right class based
Yeah.
on
Yes. Yeah.
their level. But I guess, you know, we don't have that funding or the space right now for it, so it's hard.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I really like I mean, at least you have, some special, and you have the teachers to support the kids. Although like, I don't know, like now, because in my school, what we have, like, we do have like, pull out for AL kids. And if we have, high function kids, or if you have autism, or if it will be part of that group. But
Right.
as you said, like, if you are like, in my classroom, we have like 21 students, and we have 5 of them, they have challenges, autism, and we have hearing impairment, and we have also like hearing and talking,
Yeah.
the kid like, and then you know, like, you know, okay, how are you are going to teach those kids? And it's, sometimes you feel it's not fair if I am doing the same, you know, activity for everybody,
Right.
and we don't have, you know, enough special, like special teacher to how are we going to serve it? So it's a little bit of, we are just, you know, it's effort, we are making efforts, like, you know, how to differentiate the activity,
Yeah.
which has been working good. But I would love if we have, you know, separate classrooms. I won't agree though if we have, like, in a kinder too, because as I said, some kids are really smart and you
Yeah.
don't know if they're
Like,
going to do it. But if we at least have that space, you know, we
yeah.
do have a place for those kids, then you know what are you planning for. And then, you know, some parents would love to see their kids are doing stuff. They come at the end of the day, and then, you know, you can, if you tell them that, you know, so and so did pretty today and look what he did, and
Right.
they can see that big smile on their
Yeah.
faces, and you feel like, yes, he's doing more, he's talking, he's counting. He came with zero English or no English or little English, and then now he can count, he can say hello, and he can
Gosh,
respond
that's
to you
awesome.
questions. Still, I mean, it's a big
Yeah.
step. So yeah, I mean, that, you know, I'm looking forward to just, you know, have at least one class. I would be happy to, to
Right.
have
So that's why, like,
it.
I feel like I can't complain about the different levels in the special ed
Yeah,
classrooms, because I'm very grateful that, you know, like
yeah,
the students with special needs, with autism, with ID, with any type of disability, like they're getting the needs that, you know, they're getting the instruction, the academics that they need. So
yeah,
I'm more
yeah.
than happy about that. But that is just like one issue I
Yes,
do
yeah,
have, because I guess
yeah,
because I worked in the classroom and I saw it, and it's like it's frustrating, you know, as a teacher, and
yeah,
I couldn't even like imagine my lead teacher being like, how does she plan? Because I feel like that's like, she taught me everything I know. Like, she was my mentor for the 9-month like certification program, and I felt like I was able to differentiate. Like, she taught me all like the differentiation skills, because we differentiated for everything, because all the
yeah,
students were on different levels. Like, there was
yeah,
no student that was the same.
yeah. Hmm.
So I feel like I really learned a lot from that classroom. But like, I almost now know that, like, you know, students with disabilities especially, like, they deserve so
Yeah,
much, and that,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I guess
yeah,
because I want that for them, but I don't know what a solution is, because
yeah.
it's hard. Like, I just know that it would be difficult to, like, you know, have more than one classroom for, you know, these students who
Mhm.
we just don't have like the funding or like the teachers for
Funding.
it,
Yeah,
because, you
yeah.
know, it takes.
Yeah, I understand, like, because your school is like in a public school, so which
Yeah.
makes sense. But like for our school, it's, you know, private schools, and
Yeah,
parents, I think, a lot of money. It's really, seriously, like the fees that they pay, it's huge. The tuition that they pay.
you guys should
Um,
open a slided classroom with that money.
and if I, you know, like, I personally, if I think, I mean, if you know, the admin people will suggest it to parents, I said, okay, because all the parents are, you know, the business, and, you know, they are really wealthy people. So if they suggest, like, you know, can we help, can you guys help, we are trying to make a section for this special, I
Yeah.
am 100% sure that they will say yes, and then they will help with the funding, I promise.
Wow.
But I don't know about, like, you know, if they're gonna even suggest it, because I'm not allowed, like, I'm a TA, like, I'm not
Right.
in a strong position to just, you know, go there and
Exactly. But I'm
but
sure
I
if you like,
feel itchy to say something seriously.
yeah, I
Like,
mean, I'm sure if you like talk to the right people, maybe that could be like an option.
yeah, I don't know.
We also, I know DC does this, but like, if the self-contained, the like specialized programs are an option, they do like private schools or like residential or like hospital programs for the students. But rarely have I seen like students like to leave the gen ed classroom and to be like, I guess, into like the self-contained classrooms, like the full-time special ed,
Mhm.
or like private or like residential. Like, it's a big process, because we follow all of these like acts for students with disabilities, and like we have to make sure, you know, like legally it's okay, and that, you know, they're getting what they want.
Yeah,
So
what do you, yeah.
I was telling you about my student who we like transitioned into gen ed, which was great. I also have a student that she gets a lot of hours per week on her IEP for like pull out and push in, and like she hasn't really been making a lot of progress, and she's, you know, been at this school since preschool, which is great. Like, a lot of parents like our school, and they like our administration, they like our staff. But recently we had her IEP meeting, and we let mom and dad know that like this setting isn't for her. She has like a physical disability. She's technically in third grade, but her cognitive level is probably like preschool level, and that like the gap is just getting bigger and bigger for her. So we suggested like a self-contained, so pretty much like a full-time specialized program for her.
Specialized program, yeah.
And like it was really hard for mom, you know, to hear. And of course, like it was hard for us too, because you know the student has been with at our school like for 5-6 years, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously we want her to stay, but like we're not able to meet her needs.
No.
So, like, you know, she can't really walk up and down the stairs. We don't have an elevator. So, you know, she's on the third floor being on the older grades, and like she's having trouble walking to the cafeteria on the first floor, and like fire drills have just been like, you know, really hard for her. So like we were kind of saying, like an issue with the early intervention with the parents not really like understanding or not putting their child's needs first. I definitely see that with the placement as well. The parent of the student was really upset, and I was like, you know, really understanding about that. And we like, you know, had let mom know like early last year that this could be an option if, you know, the child continues to not make progress. And like the mom was really upset, but in the end she was like, you know, I want the best for my child. I see my child come home every day from school like crying, and like she's so frustrated because she doesn't know what she's supposed to be doing with the gen ed like material and homework, and like she wants to be where her classmates are and she's not. So like would be like both sides. Like it's really great to transition kids out of the specialized programs, but it's really hard, you know, for families to I guess
to accept it, or
so I don't know if you guys see, like you said, like a lot of your parents are very forthcoming and tell you
like most of them. But you know, the thing that like it will be an issue because we never return anybody. Like as I said, the mission of the school is like you know, opening doors, hearts and minds. So we never had to return anybody after the test or before they do the level test, and then they are in automatically. So but if thinking like, you know, if the, you know, the parents will, some of the parents will hear that, you know, we can't have their kids anymore here, it will be such a drama, like because they don't have anywhere else to take those kids, and they have the right to learn. So how are you going to tell them, and how are parents will going to accept it? It's seriously I understand probably for Tunisian families, so probably because it's an option that outside public schools, although they won't be served the same way here, because you know, and the thing that like, you know, the mentality, we don't have the mentality of accepting the different people, like, you know, if they walk differently or if they look differently, you have a lot of people will look at you, it's like, you know, they're not trying to be mean, but it's like, wow, what is, like, you know, they look at you and the kid will feel embarrassed, like, you know, having you know, people looking at him and he's not comfortable or she's not comfortable. It's really hard to live, you know, in a normal school. So hearing if, you know, they decided not to have the program for special education next year, it seriously, it will be drama, and you know, parents will do.
Hopefully like your parents complain, or like they like, you know, really, because I feel like if the parents want something, like 9 times out of 10 the school is willing to give it for the parents. Like if a parent asks for something, like we're very responding of it. So I am hoping for you guys, because I just can't imagine your students, like you guys are doing everything you can for them, but you know, there needs to be like something that comes from like the district, or like even like, you know, where you live, that like they need to set down ground rules, kind of like what we have.
Exactly. I'm hoping that we look at that, you know, those points, like, you know, where the kids, I mean, just, you know, don't think of what we have now. Okay, you're trying to, some teachers will complain, because the thing that, because some teachers are complaining, like, you know, oh, so-and-so is distracting the class and I can't teach because he is having this problem, and then is distracting the kids, and this and this and this, and it's not fair. I totally understand, but like, we can do much better. We do have a teacher and a TA. I mean, the TA can take the role of, you know, just, you know, I know all like the TAs, they are not sort of trained, and I know that, and you know, they don't even know what to do. If the teacher will ask the TA to put that child in a timeout, she will definitely do the same what she's been asked. But like, if you can help and you can read and teach yourself what to do and how to deal with those special cases, like, you know, some challenges, we will just have an awesome day, everybody, and you know, you're still helping that kid somehow.
Well, that's a really good mindset to have.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys, I feel like I'm learning from you guys too, because, you know, sometimes I think like I'm having the worst day. And then it's like, you know, there are places in the world where they don't even have,
Yeah.
you know, special ed classrooms, and teachers are dealing with this with the other students in the room. So props to you guys. Hopefully you learned something.
Hopefully, no, I'm trying. I told you, I'm going to learn from you guys. I'm trying to pull more sort of tools and strategies so I can just,
Perfect. We are
yeah,
here
sort
for
of
you, and we're
help.
here to learn from you as well.
Nice.
All right, I'm gonna stop recording. Are we good?
Yep.